Shi, is that correct?
Yeah.
Who is presenting object-oriented drawing, and this paper received a Best of Chi or Best Paper Award. So I'd like to ask you all to put your hands together to congratulate the authors.
Oh, I got the privilege to present this work, but I collaborate this work with my wonderful friends and mentors from DGP and Autodesk Research, Bruno, Tovi, and Daniel Wigdor. Okay. So until to the early 2000s, most commercial products still focus on the traditional WIMP paradigm, which led to the many advanced desktop applications, some of which we're still using today. Well, the core of the traditional WIMP UI is the form-filling paradigm, with mouse as the primary input device and a set of graphical widgets to enable fast and accurate form filling. Well, recently, touchscreen devices have become popular in HCI research and the commercial market. So when Steve Jobs first introduced the iPad at 2010, he defined the iPad should be far better at some key things, and they are videos, music, games, ebooks, and browsing internet. But what about the other applications? What if you want to write an experiment document, or do some photo editing, or do some vector drawing sitting in your comfortable chair with your wonderful touchscreen devices? Well, the difficulty is that as soon as you need those complex functionalities, you have to deal with all these forms with your hand. And it's tedious, it's slow, it's error-prone, and it's frustrating. And the commercial market did find a solution to support all these applications, and they just simplified the app. So on the left, we see the desktop version of Adobe Illustrator, which has over 500 functionalities in it, while on the right, there are some applications we can use on touchscreen devices to do vector drawing. And these applications are oversimplified in that it only contains a small set of essential features that you need. And using them is like running Windows in the safe mode. You can't really do very complex stuff. And even with the simplified version, we still see the fallback of the traditional form-filling paradigm. You still have to use your finger to drag the slider bar or hit like small buttons. So we don't want simplification, and we don't want form-filling paradigm. And we have found a solution for you. So let's talk about object-oriented drawing. So the central theme of OOD is the extensive objectification of attributes into what we have termed attribute objects. So attributes in our system are no longer numbers in the form, and they are themselves objects that you can directly physically manipulate. And let's see how it works. Okay, cool. So I have this interface here. Let's draw something with it. I usually draw a light bulb. So I can start drawing a light bulb, the socket, and the thread. And then let me draw the bulb. Well, this is obviously not a bulb. So, I need to delete it. But remember, this is touch. Everything in this interface is an object. So I can just use my finger to drag it. And if I drag it off the canvas, I delete it. Now I'm going to recreate a new one. Well, at this moment, I really hope I'm Ruby Ed. So, okay, let me make the stroke thinner. So, how can I get access to all those attributes because we don't have the form anymore? Well, I can just tap on this object. I see all the attributes of this object. So the first one is shape, and the second one is fill, and the stroke. And then I can tap on each of these cards to see the sub-attributes of this object, like that. And here, I found the stroke width attribute. And the way I change the stroke width is by holding my finger on the card and drag my finger on the object to decrease or increase the value. I'm pretty happy with the stroke width. And let me change the color. Well, we use color picker not because we use it in the WIMP, it's because we use it in everyday life. So I'm really happy with this color. And still, this light bulb is not great. And I'm pretty sure I couldn't draw a better one than this. So I'm going to fix it by holding the geometry and then direct manipulate the vertex. This one's better, right? Okay. So the next thing I'm going to draw is a filament of this light. I can just draw the filament. And then I need to make it a center. So I can hold on stroke, decrease the value. Okay. Now, because the filament is only a thread, I don't need a fill color. Because everything here is an object. If I don't want an attribute, I can just drag it out. Just like that. And if I want the color back, I can just push it back. And if I lift it on the canvas, it becomes an independent object. And if I drag it off the canvas, I delete it. I forgot to cover the socket, so I will just do it here. Okay. And the next thing I want to draw is a white area underneath the filament to show the light is glowing. Well, the first thing I notice is that the order is not correct, right? So the white filament area should be underneath the filament. So how can I get access to the order of this interface? Well, remember this is OOD. Everything is an object. So the canvas is an object. So what I can do is I can just tap on the canvas. You see two objects pops up on the top, and they are the background objects and the layer object. And I can tap on this layer, well, because of the weird resolution. So I don't have, I can just drag this, drag that, and I get this object. And if I move it, oh, I cannot move it there. It's at the back. All right, so let me draw the white area first, and then draw the fill. So it's underneath there. So what I will do is I will just draw the white area here, and then put the filament back. So for this glowing area, I don't need a stroke, and I want to make it a blurry so that to show the light is glowing. So how can I introduce a new attribute into this object? So you see this little handle here. Well, I can just drag it out to review all the attributes that I can add it to this object. I can tap on the blur to edit the blur attribute, and I can hold on the blur and drag my finger on it to increase or decrease the blur radius. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this one, and I'm dragging this one back. There. Oops. It's not on top of it. So what I'm going to do, just create a new one. Delete this one. There. Well, we will talk about the gesture in a bit. So the next thing I want to draw is a reflection on the floor. So I can draw with my pen. Oh, it's a weird reflection. So this is a reflection. And because it's a reflection, I want to change the color of the reflection to match the color of the light. So I can change the color here. And it's really hard to find it in the color picker. So what if I can just grab the color of the light and put the color into the reflection? Well, I can do that. I can just hold on the fill card and tap on the canvas to make a copy of an attribute. And then I can just drag this fill out, push this one in, and then I have the fill color. Well, you may think, this is too many steps. Well, we have a quicker way to do it for you. So let's back up a bit. I drag this fill color out, push it in. I don't need this anymore. So what I can do is I can just hold on this fill color attribute, tap on the reflection. I just share the fill color into the reflection object. And you might notice that while I tap it, there's a link icon just briefly displayed. And that means if you tap it, you will set up a link between the fill attributes of these two objects. Oh, my back hurts. So you can just tap the link, and you set up a link between them. And then whenever you change the color of the light, the other changes. I'm making it shallower. All right, now I'm working on the reflection. I just want to get rid of the stroke, add the blur back, and change the blur. Okay. And I want to tune the color a bit. All right. Now what I want to do is, I want to change the whole scene to a dark scene, into a night scene so I can see the light glowing. So traditionally, you have to draw a huge rectangle and put it back over everything else. What you can do here is, because everything is an object, the background is an object, and it has attributes. You can tap on the background. This will review the attributes of the background. And then you can just tap on the fill color and make it darker like that. Maybe even darker. All right. So now I have changed the background. I realize that the color of the light is actually not perfect. And the color I used before is actually better. So what I can do is I can undo several steps to a previous color, but I lost everything I did after the color. So we have a solution for that. Remember, this is OOD, everything is an object, and every attribute is an object, and attributes has its own history. So what I can do is I can just tap on this, and I can hold on the fill color and drag it out. I see all the history of the single attributes, and I can tap on each of this card to go back a previous version of this single attribute, and that won't affect all the operations I did before. And as you can see, these two attributes are linked. So when I roll back to a previous version of the light bulb, I roll back to the, I also share the color to the reflection. So I like this color, and I just tap it to confirm. Now I roll back the color to a previous version. All right, so now I want to add more elements to the light bulb. What I want to do is I want to draw some light rays of this bulb. So I use my pen, I draw light rays. Well, it's probably very hard for you to see because it's black stroke. And I agree with you, I also don't want this black stroke. What I want to draw is light rays with the same color of the light. And you see this cursor here, it's an object, holy crap. So we can drag it around, and you can just tap to see all the attributes of the cursor. And because I'm going to draw a light ray, I don't need the fill color, I just drag it out. And I want the stroke to share the same color of the light bulb. So I can just hold on this card and tap on the stroke color to copy the color. And now I can just draw light rays. Okay, so now I'm pretty happy with the light, and I want to make the reflection a little bit more complex. So let me just first get rid of this one. So the reflection I want to have is several layers, reflection like from small reflection to a bigger layer, and they cover each other, and with the color changes from the color of the light to the color of the background. Well, and I also want to draw perfect ellipse. I don't want to use the weird shape to represent the reflection. So how can I draw all this with my pen? Well, this pen is an object. I grab it, and I want to draw with fill color. I just add the fill color back. I don't want a stroke. I get rid of the stroke. I want blur. I add a blur. And I want to draw a perfect ellipse. Well, I can just hold on the shape card and drag it out. These are the template that I preloaded into this attribute as history. I tap on the circle. Everything I draw now will be a circle. And I will draw a huge circle here as a base layer. and then another one as a second layer. Well, I cannot put them together now because they have the same color. And I want to draw another one, and another one. Okay. So now I'm going to color them. I want the color to be changed from the color of the light to the color of the background. And I can just copy these two attributes out, hold on these two attributes together, and I generate a blending operation of these two attributes. And I can drag from left or right to see color transition. And then I can color each of them. And I drag it off. I delete the blending operation. And now I want to center them. I can just, well, I don't have a line tool, but because the position itself is an attribute, so I can just hold on the position. Oops. Hold on the position. Tap, tap, tap. And now, because they're linked, so every time I move one layer, I move the whole thing. And I can just put it down there as a reflection layer. So that's pretty much for the demo. So I just have 1 minute left, and I want to conclude this with the fundamental concept of OOD, is that everything is an object. And so in the digital environment, we want to interact with the abstract content. And that's the power of digital tool. But if you want to interact with them with your hands, you can just try to objectify them. And the direct manipulation of the objects we are all naturally familiar with can bring the control and imagination more than manipulating a number. And this is just 50% of what we have done for this paper. For the other exciting features and the expert evaluation we did on this concept, please read our paper or come to chat with me at the Toronto Tequila Party tonight. So this is a video we have, and if you missed any detail, you can see the video. Hi.
Hi, Jennifer Jacobs, MIT Media Lab. Really cool work. Thanks for the presentation.
Yep.
I had a question about one particular interaction you did where you took the style or the cursor,
right,
and you took the color attribute from the cursor and then used it to draw the lines on the light bulb.
Yes.
You took the color from the light bulb and applied it to the cursor.
Right.
So is there an interaction where if you then go and modify the color of the light bulb, will it also affect the lines around it, or?
You just need to link them.
Okay, right. So you have to manually create a link in order for that to happen.
Yes.
So I guess my related question to that is you're creating everything as an object, so have you thought about using some type of automatic inheritance in this model as well, rather than explicit links?
Yes, so you're talking more broadly about working with very complex and multiple objects. And that's sort of the limitation of the current system, where I can only manipulate one object with one finger. If I can use 10 fingers, I can do that. And we have advanced OOD, we call it coming. So come to see my talk this year or next year. So.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, or we can chat later. Yep.
Hi, Michel Baudouin-Lafont, Université Paris-Sud. Very nice work. I love object-oriented stuff anyway. I had a question about the status of the pencil, because you linked the color of the bulb to the color of the pencil, and that transferred to the lines. But which of these links could be permanent?
So the link between the light bulb, the color of the light bulb, and the link of the pen, it will be permanent.
So then if you change the color of the bulb while drawing, for example, it would change the color?
It will change the color of the pen. It won't change the color of the previous drawn objects.
Okay. So I guess this is related to the previous question.
Yeah.
You cannot, as you draw with the pen, transfer the link you've created from the bulb to the pen to transfer it to what you're drawing with the pen.
Yeah, well, that's pretty cool. Well, what we were exploring is more about the concept, not like this is well, you can design it in either way, right? So
yeah, of course. Yeah. But I think it's interesting to look at this notion of tool or instrument and what role they have relative to the objects themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Great work.
Yeah. Thanks.
Hi, Cesar Torres, UC Berkeley. Great work. I'm excited to try some of these techniques and some things I know of next. I was wondering if you could maybe expand on how you see this working for vector graphics. So you showed that you do some vector manipulation through direct manipulation, but that's not necessarily, that doesn't fit into your object-oriented scheme.
Yes.
And I understand the limitations of it, but just wondering what your thoughts are on really trying to make perfect shapes, vector shapes.
So you're talking about like manipulating the vertices on the path. You can objectify it. You can make each point as an object, and probably you can see, like, if you have 3 points, you probably can see the angle between these 3 points if they're linked. And I agree with you for now. If you probably have to toggle a mode, you know, with this tool, you have to toggle mode to say, I want to use the pen to manipulate the vertex, right? And you cannot use your finger to manipulate it because your finger is too big. Right. Well, I guess, I cannot come up with a perfect solution for that. But I guess there are like several probably design problems we need to accommodate with this concept. So I think that's still open, and I will try to solve it. Come to Toronto, I will demo to you. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.